The Broncos have informed Russell Wilson, that's a quarterback that used to be good, who played in Seattle. They have informed Russell Wilson they plan on firing him. But he is going to get the ultimate golden parachute, as that massive contract extension he signed when he was traded from Seattle to Denver is about to kick in, and that means that he's going to get paid a ton of dough not to play quarterback for the Broncos. The Denver football team telling Russell Wilson his services are no longer needed. Of course, they already told him that months ago when they benched him during the regular season. So the Donkeys, they had 30 games started by Russell Wilson. They go 11-19, and that works out to, if you look at the total value of the contract, an ungodly amount of money per victory for Russell Wilson in Denver, and that's 2 seasons. They did not make the playoffs either one of those years. So Sean Payton, I hope he has some barbecue sauce or honey mustard, because he will be swallowing an $85 million dead money cap charge.
Oh.
Yeah. Dead cap, my favorite sports term of the week, dead cap. Is that like an old player back in the day, dead cap? I don't know. So he will be let go, released, fired, told to take a long walk off a short pier, get the hell out of here, and is the largest payout in terms of dead money that anyone's ever done in the NFL. In fact, the next 2 combined don't match what the Broncos will be doing with Russell Wilson. So let us discuss the question, what is the lesson here? What is the lesson from the Broncos' release of Russell Wilson? I mean, they had big plans here. They had big thoughts, big anticipation when they got Russell Wilson. So what is the lesson from the Broncos getting rid of Russell Wilson? So I've got Hootie and the Blowfish, Young Blood, and Habit for Humanity. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a layup, which Russell Wilson in Denver was supposed to be a layup. The floor was supposed to be 10 wins. It was not supposed to be 11 total wins in 2 years, but that's what ended up happening. That's why they play the games. But my first thought on the lesson for the Broncos for other NFL teams is to act like you've been there before. That's my first thought, right? The Broncos were so giddy. They were so excited that they thought they were eventually going to get Aaron Rodgers. Remember, they hired Aaron Rodgers' pool boy, Nathaniel Can Hackett, as the coach, except he couldn't coach his way out of a wet paper bag. And so they hired that stooge, and then Aaron Rodgers ended up not even going to Denver. They couldn't work out a deal, even though they hired the pool boy for Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett. And so the Broncos were like, oh, man, we really want to go big here. You got the Walmart family that owns the team now. And then Rodgers, for whatever reason, didn't go to Colorado, even though that hippie woman, Blue, was living in Colorado at the time that he was supposedly going out with. So anyway, that didn't work out. So then what happened? It was Panic at the Mile High Disco. Panic at the Mile High Disco for the Broncos. And this is the teachable part. So what did the Broncos do? They had no real contingency plan, so they made one up, and they went, go get Russell Wilson. We're going to bring Russ in here. And, hey, why not? He's a champion quarterback from the Seattle Seahawks. And now that trade was a mistake, but it was compounded. At the time, it didn't seem like it was a terrible move. Can't change history. But the thing that was the mistake, and I said this at the time, so I'm not going back and doing a revisionist history on this. The thing that made no sense, and the thing that makes even less sense now, which made no sense at the start, was the fact that the Broncos, what they did was unforgivable. They made the trade, which is fine. If you think the guy's your quarterback for a number of years, you trade draft picks. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. You can get new draft picks every year. Big deal. Who cares? The Rams won a Super Bowl. I'd make that trade 10 times out of 10 times for Matthew Stafford. The Broncos thought they were getting Matthew Stafford. They didn't. But this is a case study in having no patience. That's like that old Hootie and the Blowfish song, right? Let it breathe. The Broncos got Russell Wilson, and they didn't let it breathe. Here's a quote from Aaron Rodgers. relax. They didn't relax, right? Russ had 2 years left on his contract. They could have just traded for Russ, had him for 2 years, kind of see how it works out, make sure it's a good fit, and then give him the contract. But instead, they're like, no. We can't mess around. This is our forever quarterback. We can't do it. We have to sign the guy. And so they did. And they completely botched it. It was a terrible fit with Hackett. And then they brought Sean Payton to clean up the mess. And Sean Payton and Russ were at loggerheads. Now, page 2 here. So Russell Wilson's contract puts the Broncos on the hook. The actual number is like $35.4 million from what I read in this year in cap penalty, and then $53.6 million in 2025. So the question is, how can Sean Payton and the Broncos field a competitive team with this kind of albatross on the salary cap? So this is one of those roll-up-your-sleeve situations. And I would advise going out and getting some turtle wax because you'll be polishing some turds here. But every once in a while, you polish a turd and someone will pay a lot of money for it at one of those high-end stores. They don't know. They don't realize it's a turd. But you got to do that, right? And Sean Payton will be on the hunt for the proverbial needle in the haystack because you look around, you've got the need for cheapness. So you're going to have to pay $35 million and $53 million. You got to get somebody who's making near the baseline salary to play quarterback. That would seemingly make a lot of sense. Whoever the Broncos draft, whether they trade up and draft J.J. McCarthy or they trade down, whoever they end up getting, plug and play. We'll be out there playing. And we are salary cap truthers, and I have not changed my position, although this is pushing the extremes, what Denver's doing. But as a salary cap truther, I believe it's voodoo economics. And so Denver, in order to fill the gap, they have to go out and get some young blood. And they can fill the void. And, again, they'll not spend a ton of money on the quarterback. And just because – see, there's this misperception. It's a flaw in the human condition. That it's much like – I explain this to my wife all the time. Like, you'll go shopping. She thinks because stuff's more expensive, you're getting a better bang for your buck. And I'm like, no, you're not. With some products you are, but a lot of times you're just paying more because of the name of the product. And in the NFL, the players that make a lot of money are often in the NFL for a long time. If you're really good, I had a coach tell me this years ago that passed through the hallways of Fox Sports Radio. It's like, if you're really good, you never end up on the market because the team will sign you, number one. Number two, if you don't want to play for them, they'll just give you the franchise tag. And so very rarely does a player who's an elite player in the prime of their career end up slipping away from the team that drafts them. It's players that have flaws or long in the tooth that change teams and all that. But you look around, and for Sean Payton, the AFC West, it looks completely booby-trapped for the Broncos. You got the back-to-back belly-to-belly champions with Mahomes and Andy Reid in Kansas City. Jim Harbaugh, who knows how that's going to work out with the Chargers. And then you've got the wild card, Antonio Pierce, and the Raiders, who haven't done anything yet. We assume they'll make some big splash moves because it's Vegas, and you have to do that. All right, last word here. So where does Russell Wilson end up next on his NFL sojourn? Where does he end up? So I did turn to the Magic 8 Ball. And I said, Magic 8 Ball, can you please tell us what the future holds for Russell Wilson? Magic 8 Ball, I shook it, and the Magic 8 Ball responded by saying, outlook not so good, is what the Magic 8 Ball said. Now, many of the pundits seem convinced that the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Yinzers, are going to end up with Russell Wilson. I am not on that team. I do not think that will be the case. We'll see how it turns out. But at this point, at age 35, Russell Wilson is on the rack at the Habitat for Humanity store. He's at the boutique thrift store. You need a quarterback with some wear and tear. Yeah, well, you go there. A lot of dents, some chips on the paint's not doing very well, and all that. And so if you gave me $1,000 of funny money, and you said, okay, $1,000 funny money, where is Russ going to end up? Then I'm looking at the Vikings. If Cousins leaves and he's free to leave and roam around the NFL as a stopgap Minnesota, they got to get somebody there. The Patriots, there's no necessary connection between Russell Wilson and the Patriots, but he meets the criteria, and is he better than Joe Flacco? I would think he's better than Joe Flacco. The one that I would keep an eye on, though, as a stopgap would be the Washington football team, because there is a connection there. And it's all about nepotism there with the team that should have a different name, but they're called the Commanders. They should just go back to the Redskins or change names again. I mean, it's a stupid name. But the Washington football team, which is also a dumb name, that makes sense because the head coach there, Dan Quinn, medicine man, was on Pete Carroll's staff in Seattle early in Russell Wilson's career. I think his second and third year, Dan Quinn was coaching the defense there. So there is a connection that could work in favor of Russ, or it could work against Russell Wilson, that Dan Quinn knows what Russ is like. Although at that point he had not become Mr. Unlimited and all that.